Hello, my name is Bruce Sawalski. I'm a Canadian outdoor educator and author of Canadian Wilderness Survival. I am a survival, navigation, and wildlife awareness instructor and chief instructor of the Boreal Wilderness Institute. And today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite small survival kits, and that's a survival kit in a water bottle. So it's a lightweight survival kit built around a water bottle, and these stainless steel water bottles like this make absolutely spectacularly great survival kits because they're single-walled stainless steel aluminum bottles that you can boil water in and you can melt snow, and they work really, really well to waterproof and contain the survival gear you carry. So this one came from a scenario that I had to think about for a long time, and that is I looked at the fact that I could drive a quad for a couple hours out into the wilderness at average of about 20 kilometers an hour, and if I got stuck, I was there. I'm not going to walk 40 kilometers back. I could travel just too far a distance, along with the fact that when I'm cross-country skiing, mountain biking, hiking, I generally don't carry anything that's a good boiling vessel. I rarely take a pot with me. So one of the things I really like to do is change that around, and for many, many years now, I've been taking stainless steel water bottles. But the idea of this one is I can simply drop it in a day pack, or as in the case of the quads, I can simply strap it on to the front rack of every single quad. And so I guarantee that if I'm out in the wilderness, I will have a survival kit. So, like all other small survival kits, there's a compromise. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll talk about some of the items that I took along and why I took them. Carrying critical survival items is a really important thing in any survival situation. And one of the problems is we often don't take all of the really good critical items we want. And that's the problem with a lot of the small survival kits. They're too small to take the real items that'll save your life. So I'll talk about each item and why I chose them, and why I took some redundant equipment, why I took a little bit more robust equipment, and why there's some things missing along the way. Things that I would have anyhow, like a first aid kit or a compass. I don't put that in my survival kit because I carry those and use those all the time. They're a different item for a different purpose, and that purpose is to save my life or stop me from getting lost or allow me to walk out, but they don't belong in a survival kit except where you wouldn't have those. And in these situations that I'm assuming out on the trail, somewhere out in the backcountry, I always will have those items. So for me, priority number one is warmth. And that means two things. That's going to mean good clothing. Well, I'm going to have that on, so I don't have to worry about that. But to add to that, I do throw in two small chemical hand warmers. They allowed me to get circulation back in my hands. What if I run in and fall into a creek? What if I drop into a river, crossing a river? I want to be able to get my hands warm again immediately so that I can get those hands back to life, so that I can start the job of collecting the wood I need and then starting a fire. These chemical hand warmers aren't cheating. They're lifesavers, and they really, really do work well for your getting your circulation and a little boost of warmth. Second priority in this kit is fire lighting. And fire lighting is always the second priority on our critical items in terms of what we actually carry into the wilderness. So the first most primary fire lighting tool is this: a simple pocket lighter. Even though I'll usually have one in me, I always take an extra one with me. A pocket lighter has saved more people in Canada than probably any other survival item that I can actually find in replicable sources. More importantly, I use it to save matches, so I use it first. It will always fail eventually, but if you save fires, then you always have that with you. Second one is a proper strike anywhere match container. In this one, I've added a new reinforced ring on there, removing the old ring from the bottle. I have 25 Strike Anywhere matches in there. There's one piece of tinder that I use, but just cotton tinder in the mouth of the bottle to make sure the matches don't go off. And then inside there is a piece of sandpaper. Along with that, I have a piece of duct tape on the outside rolled up for reuse. And because I like a third backup item, I have a good, small Swedish Fire Steel striker, and that one is being used, and I always like to use a striker before I put it in a survival kit to make sure it actually works, to get the paint off it and to get it functional. I back that up with 5 pieces of tinder and in a container. It's technically a 6th piece of tinder because that cotton is a piece of tinder. It's not as good as these 5 pieces of tinder here, because that is a cotton ball soaked in wax and kerosene. That's why I keep it in a container. Backed up with 2 fire lighting aids. One, 2 simple tea lights, and the second, a little bit of this compressed wood chips and wax, which is a really nice fire lighting aid in very poor conditions, especially in an extremely wet forest. So that my third kit priority is a good survival knife. In this case, I'm carrying a carbon steel Moro knife. This carbon steel Moro knife is a Moro 511. It is, this is a little bit older version, but as you can tell, it's unused. It comes razor sharp with an excellent locking sheath. Again, I have some second piece of duct tape here and a string pre-rigged with a small carabiner so that I start with the kit with the basic survival items ready to go around my neck when I stop. And that way I never will end up in the wilderness without a good survival knife. So priority number 4 is signaling. And for me, that means a plastic P-less whistle. This is a Fox 40 micro whistle. It'll have 110 decibels. It's an excellent whistle. It will go 10 times the distance of the human voice for 10% of the effort. Along with this, I fired in another small item, which is a very, very small LED flashlight. And it's not a great flashlight, but it will work. I put it around on my for my neck string, and it will give me the ability, if I have no headlamp, to at least have a little bit of backup light. And that's always good in winter conditions, and more importantly, when you're stuck out overnight. Priority number 5 is a water bottle. For this, I take a 1-liter stainless steel water bottle. This one I bought at Canadian Tire. It was like $12 or $13. I rig it up with a piece of wire here and 2 rings. So you can see there's a ring on either side. I take the plastic off it and cut that down and make that bottle actually work. With this, I also add binding material. I take a piece of light wire, which I can rig up on the top of the water bottle. I also have 2 pieces of cordage. That's good quality nylon cord. One's a little bit bigger than the other, so I can string it across in case I need that to set up a crane. And I have a second one as backup. As well, I have 2 plastic bags. This is a large size plastic bag, and the purpose of this plastic bag is so that I can collect snow out into a field somewhere, bring it back, and if I'm melting snow, that's really easy. I have a second plastic bag as well that I tuck into the container. That is so that I can put all of the miscellaneous materials into a bag after I take it out of the survival kit in a can. And lastly, I have 1 miscellaneous item, and it's a pretty simple item. It's simply 2 tea bags stuffed into a small Ziploc bag. And the tea bags won't do anything other than they're a nice morale raiser. And then the idea is that if I'm out in the wilderness and I'm stuck, I get a little bit of a morale builder by having a little bit of tea instead of just having to drink hot water. This makes a survival situation much more relaxing, and that kind of morale building is always good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The psychology of survival is nearly as important as the physiology of survival. So here is the complete survival kit in a can. You can see all the items stuffed in the end there. They all fit in nicely. I just seal this thing up. But like all survival kits, you have to leave out a number of items. And all small survival kits are a compromise. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no first aid kit, there's no compass. There's no room in a kit like this to carry clothing. I have to assume that I'm dressing properly for the wilderness. A bow saw, of course, I could strap on to any quad or mountain bike. I can take that in a backpack. A shelter is the same thing. If I'm smart enough to take it along, it makes a big, big difference. Of all the shelters, a poncho is probably the most versatile because it's also rain gear, along with, of course, its ability to make a great improvised shelter. I normally take along a little bit of food, usually 500 calories of chocolate bars, generally 2 Eatmores. And I would store them and replace those on a regular basis and not bother to put them in a survival kit like this. So when and where do you carry a kit like that? Well, the first thing is it's small, 0.53 kilograms or 1.2 pounds. It's in a fully waterproof and really fairly damage-resistant container. One of the best aspects of that is it has a full-size survival knife and a 1-liter boiling vessel. That makes a big, big difference. You can also attach it semi-permanently with tie wraps or hose clamps to a quad or mountain bike. This means it'll always be there for you. And I can carry it along in a backpack or any other small container. The water bottle is very versatile. It works really, really good. And I really like these survival kits in a water bottle. They're a great improvised survival kit. But the one thing to think about is I took the time to think, what if I had to survive? And when I started to think, what if I had to survive, I better prepared for a lot of eventualities. Because if you travel enough in the Canadian wilderness, you will get stranded. The difference is, are you going to be comfortable or are you going to be miserable? I want to be comfortable when I get stranded. And I hope you do too. Thank you very much. Again, I hope you enjoy this YouTube video. If you like content like this, you can go to our website at boreal.net. There is 30 or 40 articles on there. This YouTube channel also has a number of really good YouTube videos that you can watch, and I would ask you to subscribe to this channel to help support more content like this. As well, my book, Canadian Wilderness Survival, is available at numerous outdoor and bookstores across Canada, along with boreal.net/books. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video.